Looks like we're going to be getting right back into things. Of course, I know the screen showed Impulse Gaming versus CAS Esports, but that's not the case. What actually is going to be the case is Royals UK versus FM Esports. So different teams, different players, but the same old tournament. It is the ESL Premiership Spring 2017. And it is going to be the last series of the night. Of course, if you want to watch CAS versus Impulse, ESL CSGO is the Twitch stream you are going to be looking for. Make sure you go check them out. Of course, they are hosting the main Premiership stream and such. Got the guys over in the studio delivering you guys top quality casting from that side of things. And I'm looking forward to getting down there myself at some point throughout the season and bringing it from that angle. But until then, we're filling in the secondary stream to make sure that it gets the coverage. Because otherwise, these games, well, no one would see them. And that's a bit of a bummer, I think. So certainly nice to be able to bring this to you guys. And thanks to ESL for making that happen. But as you guys can see, we've kind of missed the start of this, and missed, not even the start, but a fair bit actually, off the back of just the length of that previous matchup, which means, you know, unfortunately, we don't quite know kind of where things have stood, how these rounds have gone, but what we do know is that it's 2-3, and Pulse and Weber are hitting their shots right now as they both combine. Tesco was just idling. It's off position, and well, Frey is just going to shut him down. 2 back-to-back wallbangs with that AK-47, landing all the shots required, hammering them home. As Royals UK clearly not quite aware that it is in fact hammer time, as FM Esports crush on through a Reinhardt in the making, you could say. As Neff, just a famous, stands over towards connector, spots out Weber. Not sure if he hears Stanley or not, but even with that all said, he's looking for impact there and kind of best case scenario, which for him is all about sneaking on towards the site, bear in mind. If he gets this frag on towards Nilzino, it does make it certainly possible, but with Frey over towards ramp, his dreams rapidly shut on down. FM Esports take it 4-2, and Royals UK, well, let's see how things go. Let's take a look at the scoreboard to get an idea of how these rounds have started. Looks like it came down to the pistol being found. Royals UK clutched it out. They found the first and second, but off the back of losing that first buy round, that was the turning point. That's where FM outmatched them. They brought the experience. Really started to be able to make it work. Now for Royals UK, it's back on the pistols. Not really a positive point for them, and instead of always a bit of a negative one for them now. Jack taps on towards Weber. So it is a good start for these pistols, in all fairness. But I can't necessarily imagine too much, and I think that would be almost a bit of a moot point in itself. Can they hold things together, though? That's going to be the question. It looks like FM are starting to squeeze their way in towards connector, which does give an opportunity to Tesco with the Deagle if he can find himself 1 or 2. Pulse, though, is going to take down Grimjay. Tesco ready and waiting to peek on out. Finds himself tags. Eventually going to drop the bomb. Looking for Nilzino as well, but doesn't seem like the 1 dig is going to fall into place. As Nilzino is going to push him P250 in hand, but numbers are favouring, well, would have been favouring the CT side, but looks like things rapidly swung out of contention. Nilzino is still swinging, still hunting for Jack there. Just 15 HP is all that he has, so HP advantage all but in the favour of FM Esports. But Royals UK, they still keep on fighting. The bomb is still going to be dropped. Nilzino is still holding this angle up towards window with this AWP. They're still trying to make that cross happen, just so they can get it down at this point. Cape is, though, going to take down Stanley. That bomb is not going to be planted. Forcing Neil to now go aggressive on towards Jack. Goes to the quick flick with the AWP. Will land it, bring it back to a 1 versus 1. Cape has himself an AK-47 to play with. That's one hell of a toy in a toy box. But he whips that out of his war chest. And now he's going to try and make the best of this situation as Nilzino gets himself in towards CT. Got a pistol in hand. Knows full well that Cape is going to be low. Peeks right in towards him and lands the shot. FM Esports, they keep on pushing forward. A triple kill from Nilzino in the round. And that is enough to deny what would have been a very, very influential eco round pickup for Royals UK. A bit of misfortune to roll on through, but they do get a double up setup going into this buy. They have themselves 3 rifles as well. So all in all, a bit of positivity for them to kind of reinforce that negative previous round. Hopefully we can see them put on a bit of a show now with this double up setup, because this would be a big loss for them in terms of investment. They've put a lot of money in bringing this to the table. A lot of almost forethought as well in terms of saving and strategy behind it. Nilzino, slowly but surely, is going to very much reactively peek in towards Jack. Gets himself that shot. Pulse just another on towards Capers. Grimjay finally is going to respond by peeking down in towards short and adding a different element into the round, but all in all, this kind of all spells one thing only, and that's going to be a save. Royals UK, they can't get close. They don't have any gap closers in this scenario. It's so unfortunate for them, but it's kind of just the truth. The best thing they can do is take 2 rifles and this AWP. They would, of course, try and get that second AWP as well, but I think the position that was dropped in is almost a bit too compromising for them to kind of make it worthwhile, that risk. And that does leave the momentum swinging to the side of FM at this point. They will look to keep it going though as well. Bear in mind, every single round they picked up so far has been in one fell swoop. 6 back-to-back in a row. A flash out towards the top mid is going to be what Nilzinho calls upon to try and make the best of things with that AWP. Kind of waiting to see what Royals UK's play is going to be here on their CT side, because a lot of their sort of setups are very kind of reactive right now. They're not really doing anything proactively. They do drop down a bit of smoke action here and there, which is always nice and always is, you know, there to preemptively act as a shroud for a push. But that doesn't really kind of put you in a position where you could do too much, especially when you've got the likes of Stanley who just takes you down through the wood like that. That's going to be heartbreaking for Neff. What a frag there from Stanley, and what a way to start off the round with that first pick with just 50 seconds left now. Another smoke to go on down, and Molotov will be there to greet them. A push to come in from short, and this is a pitch-perfect round coming in from the side of FM. Capes is going to find all but one. Grimjay going to try and just hold off the cross, but they don't even need to cross at this point. Yeah, they can throw a nade here and there, but he can hold that angle all he wants. They don't actually need to walk into him at all. Nilzinho just going to hold that right exit. His teammates have got the left. And they know full well that Royals UK are going to be running to the hills. They need this. They need that rifle. They need that AWP. FM are running away with this T-side half. Curiosity, guys. Do let me know how things sound. I'm actually curious to see if the little humming from my fridge I've got set up right now is kind of coming through on the stream, so do let me know if that is the case. I have to kind of be a bit, well, responsive to that if it is coming on through. Hopefully not. We've changed some mic stuff recently, so things should be a lot clearer. You should hear a lot more kind of bass and clarity in my voice, providing I don't screw up what I'm saying, which common occurrence, unfortunately. But do let me know if things sound nice and good, and you don't hear any annoying humming in the background. 2-7 though, and well, FM eSports looking to be a bit of a runaway freight train at this point. Beautiful CS being displayed by them in the early days. Crimjay should be able to get himself at least one on towards Weber. But it's about kind of keeping it going, I think, which is the, another moot point as well. Freya is going to get forced out of Palace. But they don't actually find the pick, so that's very interesting. I'd be curious to see kind of what the logistics is behind that and why that wasn't the case. Neff, though, eventually is going to find it, but he actually gets a second on towards Pulse. Pulse doesn't check the angle. Pulse, how are you letting that happen? It is going to be Nilzinho with the AWP to bring things back into contention, but that's all he can do is find himself two before Tesco swings into action from CT and brings Royals UK back on the board. 3-7, and I have some big questions about that round. They were all going to be answered by looking at a demo. But a lot of peaks felt like they should have been had there, and a lot of frags should have been in different directions. So, all in all, a very wacky round, I think, is the fairest way to describe it. And all we can do is kind of not necessarily stare too much in the past, but instead look at the present, which is going to be a double-up setup yet again on Crimjay and Capes. FM still 5 rifles, and it's kind of this reset potential, this kind of economic factor of, okay, FM want to hammer down on Royals UK as much as possible. So the minute they get themselves into things, they then want to shut them down. Which, you take a look at that scoreboard, really does say it all now. Stanley leading the barrage on towards short. Jack completely blind. No idea what he's looking for. He's got that black blindfold on. He's looking great as ever. But that's just it. He may well be looking great, but you're still hitting the deck. You're still dying. Unfortunately, Grave isn't necessarily all that comfortable. Tesco going to try and hold towards triple stack. Neil going to throw down a Molotov. Over towards short, bit of a burning greeting. As Stanley gets boosted, takes down Neff even further, and this is just a nail gun. They all in the faces of Royals at this point. They just have no idea how to respond to this. It is going to be a bit of a CT hold coming from Tesco. Neil's going to get that bomb down, and from there, the best play we can see is it should be Stanley lurking in towards window. He can just sit tight there and make sure that we don't see any funny business coming from Crimjay. We then see kind of this two-player stack of Neil just withdrawing towards ramp, and then you also have that added insurance of Pulse up in towards Palace. Royals UK, they don't have a chance of breaking this for sure. With that bomb ticking away at the sort of the speed that it is, he gets himself up on towards ticket move, and Frey drops them both dead. A beautiful spray down from him, a masterclass in how to spray your weapon and how to keep it controlled. As Stanley then on the lurk from behind cuts down Capers. 8-3. What a scoreline, and what a reset as well towards the side of Royals UK now. Having to force up off the back of this with just these pistols. So damn tough for them, and it's kind of an all-in play for them at this point. They're sitting at that poker table. They've got a big stack of chips in front of them. Albeit one that, you know, tots up to 3 rounds, but a stack of chips nonetheless. They just kind of threw them all to dealer and says, you know what? We need this right now. We need something more. Give us, you know, just double it for us. Do us a favor for the team. But unfortunately, that can be very, very risky, and they say kind of the house always wins. In this case, FM, you know, they're making a laughing stock of this. Neff and Crimjay will throw a bit of a curveball into the works, though, with a double kill. Neff gaining that rifle certainly does help him as an individual, but it's not Neff I'm worried about here. It's Cape is actually kind of holding down the site with the deagle. He needs to find Weber, and not only does he need to find Weber, he then needs to be able to pin down short as well. Which, facing up against these rifles, this battle is always going to be so damn tough for him. He drops down on towards Van. He does get himself a significant amount of tag on towards Nilzinho, which one shot is all he needs, and he finds that. So a good start. Can he find any more? Neff to take down Brett. It gets a tag on towards Weber, actually. That is huge. 1 HP. And look at that bomb. This plays now into the hands of Neff. Beautiful team play. A smoke to act as a shroud. Neff gonna just almost toy with the idea of going aggressive. The bomb is gonna be picked up, and Weber gonna walk dead set into this. Drops down a flash. Neff is actually pre-firing this. What am I watching right now? I'm not actually quite sure. Weber knows exactly what's going on. Spots out Neff. Can he play this one like a book though? Whips out his knife, looks to jump on through. Neff should have almost certainly heard that at this point. Gets a prompt of what's going to be going on. Weber just wants to get the bomb down as well. Certainly running out of time. 5 seconds. Way too wide. Neff going to take advantage of that one and take it home. A round on the board for Royals. Going to be a long defuse at least, but a round on the board nonetheless. FM will really look to take advantage of things now. They want to keep the scoreline consistent, right? Well, you know, one thing that has to be said is that Royals UK, they may have got themselves a bit more, you know, a fighting ground, I think is the best way of putting it. But having 4 rounds is all well and good, but holding it together are going to be a different story. Weber going to be dropped exceptionally low. Jack going to try and make some sweet work of them with his pistol, but that's not enough. As Nilzinho and Freya will combine, they're going to be doing a whole lot of damage. Freya and Weber are just 9 HP and 10 HP respectively. Pulse knocked down to 19 as well, but the frags are still favouring the side of FM. Tesco is going to really take advantage of their low HP, and if he can, you know, apply himself in a bit more of a turret-based manner, perhaps he can, you know, have a huge impact. But at the same time, he's in a 1v3, and it really does start to strip away a round for him, and strip away his hopes. Bomb is going to keep on ticking. And where does this leave Tesco is going to be the question. Is he going to be able to get that pick on towards Weber? That's probably the only thing I can kind of seeing him being able to achieve. Frere as well if he jumps on through, but they're both actually going to play this one very, very smartly by jumping towards Market, making that quick run. Really risking it with time, but they should just be able to get away. Yeah, just taking 2 HP from the bomb. So shutting down any sort of impact Tesco can have from behind, and FM, they get themselves to 9. Now they're going to look for this 11-4. That's almost going to be, you know, the pertinent point. But look at the economy of Royals UK. They've got a rifle, yes, but they also have 4 pistols. And Tesco can't just drop an AK-47. It's, you know, at max a Galil if he so chooses, and he doesn't even want to drop it. It's going to be a flat eco round with just Tesco's rifle mixed on in. Royals UK, you know, somewhat by the wayside in this one. 11-4. I can't help but feel like that is very much what we are sat upon the cusp of. Welcome to the stream, Hedge Live. Hope you enjoy the Premiership coverage of the second stream side of things. Tesco with the rifle finds himself a double kill. Crimj with the pistol as well. A round that was well and truly in the realm of possibility, or impossibility should we say, has been swiftly turned back on its head. This match is madness almost. What, you know, feels like a bit of a round, even a match where we can kind of sit back and kind of just let it roll on out and just have a very mellow conversation. Well, hasn't been that at all. Tesco going to find himself a triple kill. Crimj being classy as ever with the aggression of his pistol, gets himself a double, and 11-4 quickly almost dismantled now, because look at the economy of FM, right? They get to buy this one up and they have enough to drop. But it's still going to be a, you know, bit of a shaky point. Stanley, the only real one to kind of lick it out though, so perhaps a bit too far into that one. You know, they have the utility as well, and being in the last round, it's not necessarily the be-all end of life, but yeah, the big thing is that scoreline. It's been turned from an 11-4 to, well, a 9-5, 10-5 now. Pulse going to find 2 of his own, though. Jack will respond. Let's give the man advantage over to the side of FM, of course. Billy, you are right on that one. I think we all know what I was referring to there. Apologies for calling it a Galil, but my bad. Their economy was pretty wrecked anyway. Interesting to see how Royals UK got that last round, though. I think that's going to be a very important point that kind of sums up this half. Because Royals UK, there's a big difference, I feel, between an 11-4 and a 10-5. Because it makes that piston round just that little bit, not necessarily less important, but it means that it's not as impossible to fight back from. Whereas once you get an 11-4, you know, you then kind of... okay, so say you know, for example, FM take this one 11-4, then they take the pistol round, then you are pretty much looking down the barrel of what will be 13-4 in comparison to something that, you know, 10-5, you know, 12 to 13, yet again a big difference, right? Jack is going to find himself one, looking for the second towards ramp, tries to flick up as well towards Stanley, but unfortunately against Crosshair, just a bit too much to handle. It's just too many angles, too many responsibilities. It's Crimj, well, now going to find himself in his own storyline, his own narrative that builds around just having so much to achieve. A 1 versus 2 AWP. Almost using it as a bit of a shotgun at this point, as he's going to almost certainly be forced to go close range. And, well, I don't know why he's looking behind him, doesn't want to be saving at all. It's the last round, my friend. Go all in. This is no need for you to do anything. Even if you want to fall over and die, doesn't matter. At least make an attempt at it as he gets himself over on towards this bomb. Toggles the defuse, tries to bait them out. Flash will act as a bit of a blinding affair, and Weber is just going to one-tap him right in the back of his cranium. Ends it right there, and then FM eSports will take the half fairly cleanly, denying, you know, an 11-4, but it is still going to be at 10-5, which I still think is enough for them to work with. Hopefully Royals UK can bring the fight on their T side. Trying to sort of, you know, come up with the top of my head now what they're going to be able to do on their T side. So do bear with me for a second while I rack my brain, but thinking back to these players, thinking back to Lance, thinking back to what I've seen about these guys, I do think that they do have the players to be able to pull off a pistol round win in terms of actually being able to hit shots with pistols, but also not only just, you know, hitting shots with pistols is a bit of a a light-hearted comment, but, you know, on a more serious note, the strategy that they should be able to bring to the table, I think that if they can play Neff and Tesco in the right positions, and then also position Jack as well towards the back of a site as more of an anchor, then I feel like that's going to be where Royals UK can potentially shine on this pistol round. That's of course in terms of the, you know, the after plants, in terms of the setup that they have to get on towards the site, which I don't know. That's gonna be the difficult part. That's where I can't really lay too much kind of forethought onto. All I can really look at with these guys is what they can do once they get on towards the site. I think that Jack is much better at holding a site than he is necessarily in a position where he has to go aggressive. And unfortunately, that's going to be the pertinent point for them, as Pulse is going to drop them dead. Frey is going to combine as well, and there you have it. Predictions being made on how they're going to hold the site, but not how they're going to take it. Unfortunately, they aren't going to get on even close. Crimj, the last man remaining on 1 versus 3, has a minute on the clock to play with at least. But hey, there's something we can look at for the future. I'm going to talk about how kind of I like Royals UK and their setup when they're on the site. That's something that also, you know, translates to buy rounds as well, bear in mind. So certainly curious to see kind of how their buy round setups are going to be, and if they can kind of work out and execute to get someone towards the site, and then they can get those smart after plants. MJ at least going to find one, but this crossfire is so lethal, right? I just don't see too much positivity here. It's such a tough one for him to fight his way through. I'm not going to shroud this as any sort of caster's hype. I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know what, he's got a huge chance. He's trying to make the best play. He's trying to bring it back for the team. Because that's selling something that's not true. That's selling fake news almost. Instead, we are just gonna bring the reality of the fact that he has got an opportunity, that's for sure, but he's in still a fairly lethal crossfire. He has to push on out, messes up a jump as well, and that gives Weber an opportunity just to tap on forward. You can see the assist being, you know, a crucial factor of that, but Weber, all he has to do is just land 1 or 2 shots there as well, and that just, you know, ends his day. So 11-5, FM, they do get that pistol on. Royals UK kind of have to make a couple of decisions on how they want to approach this. It is going to be the force up, Tech 9s and armor, and this is that aggression again, and the problem with them forcing up here is if this force up doesn't work out for them, they do put themselves in a bit of a ditch when it comes down to their economy, which kind of puts me at the point where I have to ask the question, are we actually going to get to see Royals UK get themselves on a site, which, yeah, it's going to be tough. That's where their strengths lie, I think. They can clean work of them, and yeah, Hetch Live, I think you made a very smart point there as well, is that nearly every shot in that pistol round, I think there was only one that was a headshot, but Pulse was an absolute monster over towards Sandwich, just completely mowing them down, just tapping away from head to head, just snapping. Beautiful CS from him. Of course, you know, the team play as well in the second follow-up round was enough to just completely annihilate them, and this is where the force-up as well comes into play, because now they can't do anything again in this 18th round, which means that we're now more likely what will be 13-5. They don't check that corner, which gives Freya an opportunity to hold a crossfire with Weber and make himself some money with the UMP. They walk directly into Weber's M4, and, well, that's just not something you want to do, as Tesco are going to shoot his teammate. So the way I see this right now, which again is very much personal opinion at this point, we've strayed away from standard casting and standard kind of analysis and looking kind of at the brighter side of life, and I'm very much just trying to bring a bit more personal thought into this. So hopefully that's interesting and something worth listening to. But I think that, yeah, Royals UK, their hope is getting on towards the site, so I like the idea of an A execute here. I think if they can get a smoke down towards CT, get a smoke down on towards jungle and stairs, and then flash out on towards site and, you know, instantaneously deal with Pulse, then have a very good opportunity at taking the site, because I think that FM, you know, their weak points at times can be when they're not in a crossfire and when they do kind of go on that overfacing route, which Fairone actually does right there. He overfaces, right? But then Pulse is just being an absolute madman, a monster as he finds himself a double kill. KP is going to try and trade things back, but look at the amount of damage he's taken. Pulse is still standing, for God's sake. He's going to find himself a quadruple, totals out with an ace. Pulse dropping them all dead. They needed to deal with him. They were getting every other pick aside from Pulse, and what that is right there is that's basically saying, you know what, I've got a problem in my life. I've got an issue. A lump that's causing me problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dodge around that. I'm going to constantly swerve away from that and deal with everything else aside from that. But unfortunately, they always say that that problem is always going to come back to haunt you. And Pulse right there, exactly that. It's the perfect way to describe it. He pulls out an ace out of nowhere, but Royals UK refuse to face off against him. And that's why that's possible for him. If they just faced him together, faced him smart, used a flash and such, then he wouldn't have been able to achieve nearly anything that he was able to do there. Weber starting off strong, looking to drop these pistols yet again down to the dirt. 14-5 is the score, and it's looking very, very, very bleak for the Royal boys. One final hope. They have everything they need in fairness to them, right? They have an AWP, they have 4 rifles, they have all the utility. The only one lacking utility is Neff, which I think just put Neff at the front, right? Let him run off the rails, because in fairness to the guy, his aim has been pretty damn solid. So I think Neff is okay almost to just try and go for his entry fragging position right now. You know, that may not necessarily fit his natural talent or whatever. May not necessarily be something he's comfortable with, but at the same time I would argue that, you know, I've seen the guy effectively fill a spot as well before. I'm not, you know, 100% sure what his actual role in the team would be, but I don't know, just sending him in as that kind of first or second man in certainly can be useful for him, especially with that lack of utility. Allowing the rest of the team to really set up, but in the same regard, that utility is rapidly beginning to distinguish itself now, because you're looking at these flashes and these smokes get expended, but my concern here is that all this utility is being spent and they're not gaining any ground. I think that has to be said, right? You're looking at mid, and yes, they are starting to get this kind of passive control, but Stanley is going to open up shop on towards Tesco. That's already a one-man disadvantage. I'm starting to not see this. I'm starting to really kind of run out of hope, I think, for the Royal boys is the fairest way to describe it. As Jack still sitting in the shadows up towards B-Apps. He's clearly searching for something, but I'm not sure what he thinks he's going to gain. Just gonna let this narrate itself. Weber, a double kill with the AWP. Neff is on the site. Let's try and keep it pleasant. And I talked about his aim being crisp. That's a prime example right there, a double kill. Bring it back to a 2 versus 2. So, this is almost certainly yet again going to be within the realm of possibility for the Royal boys to keep them dreams alive. But if they're met with aggression, this Frey is going to cut down one. It is going to be a 1v1 affair, but Stanley too hot on the Tech 9, too hot with the AWP. Let it go as FM eSports will take the first map 16-5